Brower has been a vocal advocate for independent comics, and he has used Challengers as a platform to promote and support these creators. He has organized events and signings with independent comic book creators, and he has even created his own independent comic book, Metaphase, which he co-wrote with his son.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. I still approve, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the Challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the Challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and
Willy Dal.
Dal, I was going to start by saying we did it, but the it that we did is not a thing that we ever necessarily thought we would do. We didn't think we wouldn't do it, but it was never a concept in our heads to be like, what'll it be like after 15 years of Challengers?
Yeah, I didn't think we'd be done before then, but I definitely never spent a single second saying, when we get to year 15.
Yeah.
Never had a second where I thought that.
Now that the store is closed for the day, that's it. That's a wrap on 15 years.
15 years. Neither of us was in the store.
I mean...
We both did some work.
Yeah, but I mean...
Neither of us was in the store.
The same way it was last year. On the 15th anniversary last year, we were in Kokomo.
That's right. Forgot about that.
Yeah. That was our 14th anniversary treat. 15 years.
Yeah.
Does it feel like 15 years?
It really doesn't.
It really doesn't.
Some of it is, even though we've had a lot of major changes to Challengers over the last few years, you know, pandemic notwithstanding, there's constancy, maybe? Sweet constancy to our existence as store owners, where there isn't necessarily a lot of big changes or, you know, huge differences to how we've been in the same spot for 15 years. We've flirted with a second location or with different hours for ourselves or days of the week that we're working or whatever. And we've made, you know, improvements within the store, both like through racking and design, but also employees and that sort of stuff, like products we carry, everything else. But at the end of the day, like, Challengers is Challengers, and it's been this version of Challengers. I don't want to say perfected, but definitely like past year 4,
enhanced.
We kind of nailed down what we wanted the store to be and how we wanted it to work. And again, there's been additions and subtractions, but the basic arithmetic of it hasn't changed in the last 11 years. So basically anything from year 4 to 15 feels like the same amount of time. That's just one unit to me.
We're never looking for change, but we're looking for improvement.
Sure. And I mean, we just did a rearrangement of our graphic novels and an expansion of different sections and a condensing of other sections. But that always seems minor to me in comparison to just how continuous the process of running the store is. You know what I mean?
Continuous is a good word.
Thanks. I made it up.
Oh, wow. Well, all language is made up.
All words are made up according to the mighty Thor.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how so many stores that we know, that we worked at, that we've been to, have moved once, twice, multiple times. As far as Chicago stores go, the only stores I think that haven't moved are First Aid Taylor, Alley Cat, us. Everybody else has moved.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. And I mean, we thought about it 5 years ago, maybe. We had a brief period of time where we were unhappy with how much we were paying for rent, and we started looking at a few other places, and eventually just couldn't really find anything that fit our needs, as it turned out. So we ended up staying where we were.
We're certainly not the biggest store in the city.
No.
We're not the smallest store in the city. Depending on who you ask, we're not the best store in the city.
Yeah, best is a hard classification.
We don't.
Not for everybody.
We don't want. I mean, I love the word the best. I love, like, you know, for 2013 we were claiming best in the world.
Sure.
But I think if I had to choose over best, I'd prefer favorite.
Yeah, one of the things that happens a lot, and I don't know if it happens more because of stuff like C2E2 that's happening this weekend as we're recording this, but the amount of people who come in who are instantly disappointed because they do a quick look around the store and the quizzical look on their face, and I say, is there anything I can help you find? And they say, yeah, do you have any back issues? Any like silver or bronze age stuff? And we have to go, no. We do have a back issue section. It's mostly modern stuff. We don't really deal in vintage. And we usually recommend, Dark Tower up the street if you want back issue stuff. I don't even know if that's a good recommendation anymore, but that was always the store that I would say, hey, 30 blocks north, same street.
Yeah, I think it is. I think
I
it's
don't
still
know
a good rec.
Yeah. But to those folks, we are the worst store.
Yeah.
Because their definition of a store, what they want out of a comic shop is a fully featured back issue section. They want board books. They want slab stuff. They want keys. They want stuff from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. And even the 2020s, I don't really want that much.
And I get it.
Sure,
I understand
I don't
that
blame
feeling.
That is a part of the market. It's just not the part of the market we serve.
When we opened, we tried doing a full back issue section.
Sure.
And it feels like at the same time we're like, no, it's not for us. We're just going to discount everything. Everybody else stopped doing back issues as well. Even the stores that were relying on major collections and things had said, no, the back issue market is dead. Now that's not the case. Now it's totally turned around again, and back issues are very in vogue.
I wonder if that's still a thing. We're hearing that. We're reading that. There was ICV2.com had a little bit of coverage where they talked to 4 different retailers. John Robinson at Graham Crackers Comics, Phil Boyle at Coliseum.
Okay.
And Jen King at Space Cadets Collection. And they were kind of uniform in talking about how newer comics, weekly books, killing them, making no money on them, huge drops. But back issues were significantly more valuable to them. At the same time, there were fluctuations even in that, in the last year, where some of the and we'll talk about this more in detail this week because we've been noticing it a lot. We're in the correction period post-COVID, where a lot of the things the market was doing over the last 3 years, both in new books and old books, is kind of shifting. The whole country of the United States of America, which is where Challengers Comics and Conversation is located in Chicago, Illinois, the Bucktown neighborhood. The emphasis on back issues, first appearances, collector stuff, that's all kind of going away, or at least not as prominent as it used to be and not as big a part of the market. I've talked to a few different creators who have launched books recently, and for creator-owned stuff, they're not seeing the kind of hype that they would have maybe seen a year or 2 years ago when everyone was grabbing first issues and everything was getting optioned and whatever. And now you can have a media deal and no one cares. You can have a first issue full of first appearances. No one cares. Maybe you get a hyped Amazon deal and a bunch of people buy a bunch of copies of issue 1, but it doesn't translate into success. No one's reading the book. It doesn't do anything. And all of that comes 3 months after the book comes out. It doesn't help you sell issue 1 even.
Right.
It's just selling out of the issue 1s that stores might still have in stock. And the back issue market, what we're hearing is sort of the same thing, where certain key issues, yes, but this character is going to be in a Marvel movie of it all doesn't seem like it's moving the needle a whole lot anymore. And there's so many books that not everything is really catching on, and you have to carry so much stock, which is why we eventually stopped doing back issues the way we were when we started, because you need so much floor space dedicated to it. You kind of, and this kind of gets back to what I was saying before, where it's a part of the market, but it's not one we serve, because we have, like any physical location in the real world, we have a limited floor space, and we chose graphic novels, kids books, YA, manga, that's the stuff that we want to focus on. That's where we think we'll find the growth. But yeah, other stores pick back issues, and when customers for those stores come into Challengers, they're instantly disappointed, and I've seen it on their face for at least 10 years.
You know, it's funny that you said we chose graphic novels, because I can name several stores that were those store owners in Challengers, and they would see our wall of single issue comics. Mm-hmm. They would just be like, why? Why do you have those comics?
We do carry a lot of single issue comics as well, yeah. I don't know that I would ever feel comfortable carrying substantially less, even though the argument financially is they are bad and don't carry them. I just like single issue comics.
No, I do too. And the number of people in the last 2 weeks, especially weekends, mm-hmm. like the last 2 Fridays, Saturdays I worked, the number of people that came in and did a full circuit of the store and left without buying anything is just disheartening, because
yes.
You look at how much stuff we have.
Doesn't matter. They were never going to buy anything. Or at least if they were, it was never going to be anything we were going to carry.
Yeah, and again, it's the, like, can you help me find anything? No.
But no, I know what you mean. It does... It never feels great to have someone spend 10, 15 minutes in the store genuinely looking around and then just, like, leave with their coffee in their hand and be like, thanks.
Yeah, I don't mean like someone who's just meandering, but like someone who feels like they're coming in for a purpose.
I don't know how much of that's true, though. Like, I see a lot on Sundays when the weather's nice. Couples walking around the neighborhood, they'll poke their head in, oh, what's this shop? And it's just part of their...
How long have you been here? 15 years. How long have you been here?
Not 15 years.
4 months?
It's just part of their afternoon, you know? They got coffee at
they're window shopping.
At one of the coffee shops. They're on the 606. They're walking around, poking their head in. So while it's a little disappointing to have them, spend 15 minutes in the store and then leave with nothing because we have so many things, they don't want to buy anything. They just wanted to spend 15 minutes walking around, looking at things, talking to each other. That's it. You were just a space they got to exist in for a little while.
It's just, especially in this day and age, every person who comes in is a potential sale.
Yeah, it really is.
But I was going to say, and you feel like you failed when they don't buy anything.
Yeah, but you can't have everything. I mean, that's how many stores have we been in where you wouldn't even have as much walking around space as Challengers has because they'd want to shove in another rack of something, another display of some other product line, and you end up looking like the description I always have is 10 pounds of product in a 5 pound store.
Yeah.
Like, you can do that. Nothing's stopping you, but I hate how that looks. I don't like being in those stores. Going
back to the back issues for a minute, when I was in Asheville last June, I visited 3 stores.
What city is Asheville in?
Asheville. Can't do it now. My voice is so scratchy.
Can you drop it in maybe?
North Carolina.
Thank you, Dapper Yapper, Justin Roberts.
And there was one store that's full of back issues, and I'm like, all right. And I'm not opposed to buying back issues for myself.
Really?
Yeah, but
what do you look for?
I want 70s Marvel.
Anything in particular? Like
anything I don't have.
I mean, what? Give me some like. We're talking like Avengers, Captain America, whatever. Or are we talking like canceled books, like Werewolf by Nights?
Werewolf by Nights. Literally any Amazing Adventures. Any early Marvel premieres.
Definitive Bronze Age stuff that only existed in that era.
The stuff that I grew up with.
Okay.
Right? And
pure nostalgia play.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm also not looking to spend a ton. I'm not looking for board books or anything. And I also don't have a list of keys that I want, if I may use that term, which I'm not a fan of it, but you can have keys for your collect specific.
Do you have a list period of what you're looking for? You just go by cover?
I want something to jump out at me.
Okay. I mean, you never look through your back issues, so you have no idea if you're buying duplicates anyway.
Well, I've been sidelined.
It's true. There have been some obstacles over the last, let's say, a year.
Let's say. But that store didn't have anything. It basically had, all the 2000s back issues you could want.
Because you can't.
Which is none.
When you think about what a store has to stock to have enough breadth of material to include essentially 40 plus years ago worth of back issues, sorry to put a date on it, that's a lot of boxes, man.
Oh, I know.
Like, that is, oh boy.
Sure.
Which is why it's so weird, and I'm sure I will see this again this weekend at C2E2, but when I see people at conventions and it's the same, like, Dell Gold Key...
It's pronounced Dal, but go on.
Cowboy books. Willie Dal. Like, that stuff is 70 years old.
Yeah.
Like, what audience is still buying those? And it's like, I mean, it just feels calcified in a way that that's the problem I usually have with the back issue market, is it is this physical history that just keeps growing. And I know that sounds positive, but I like the idea of a bookstore where it's like, I don't know, man, eventually, like, you're going to have Mouse forever, but you're probably not going to have, like, Electra Assassin forever. There might be a point where people are just like, I don't care about Frank Miller and Bill Sienkiewicz anymore. Like, I didn't grow up with them. An Electra book doesn't mean anything to me. I want other stuff.
You have to pick and choose. Space is at a premium.
I kind of like that. Going through the superhero stuff recently in the graphic novel section to pare it down to get into a smaller space, some of it, pulling those books, is super easy because you just look at it and you're like, oh, I forgot that Lion Forge did a superhero line for a few years, and we ended up stocking those graphic novels, and no one will ever buy them.
No.
So those get pulled off, and those get discounted. But then there's other stuff where it's like, I don't know, maybe we don't need that run of Amazing Spider-Man that we have a few graphic novels for. We don't have the whole series, but we have a few volumes. Let's pull them, you know? Same thing with, like, all the pre-Hickman X-Men graphic novels that are not, like, complete collections.
Yeah.
You know, like the individual volumes of Extraordinary X-Men, or
X-Men Red, or X-Men Blue, or the previous X-Men Red, the Jean
Grey
Red
or
team,
like
X-Men.
the Dennis Hopeless All New X-Men. Like, those are all good books. I like them all, but there's no fandom for them anymore. There's no one looking to get those graphic novels as a way to read the X-Men.
And it's also so disjointed that I can't, in my head, think of it as a clear timeline as to how that progresses from, let's say, after Morrison left, name all the runs up till now.
I could probably try, but I don't want to.
Right.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to waste that time.
It's definitely a challenge, and I would never consider myself a comic book historian because I feel like that is someone who studies or who researches or who learns. The comic book knowledge in my head is just earned from reading.
Right.
And not even rereading.
No.
So as time passes, that gets fuzzier.
Sure.
And I forget things. And Andrew Challenger likes to test his Silver Age knowledge versus mine. And it's weird to think he has any because he's so young. But it's all new to him because he's reading it now.
Right.
And I've never been somebody who can give you issue numbers. You know, what issue number did the X-Men face Eunice for the third time?
Ask Mark Waid.
Yeah. I can't do that.
No.
I can tell you the story.
Sure.
Actually, I can't that because I that was definitely from the Stan and Jack stuff that I wasn't reading back then.
Sure.
And I can tell you stories that I read. But I don't necessarily have an encyclopedic knowledge of them, nor do I need to.
No.
But also, when you look at, let's say, post-Bendis, Cullen Bunn X-Men, I read all that stuff with the time-displaced team.
Sure.
I don't remember a lot of it.
There was one book I was pulling, and I want to say Hopeless wrote it. It was Extermination, and I'm like, what is this? Like, this isn't a book that came out like 20 years ago. This book came out like 6 years ago, probably. Yeah. And it was basically the storyline that took the time-displaced X-Men and put them back where they came from.
Okay.
And it's just like, wow. Yeah, no, I did read this. And it was... But to get back to what you're saying, like, one of the things that's kind of a pro and a con about superhero graphic novels is they can be kind of discrete series. Nick Spencer writes Amazing Spider-Man. It has a volume 1, it has a volume 13. And that's sort of it. You can read that whole thing and get that whole story. The problem is once you start moving forward with the next creator and the next creator, there's so little incentive to go back and read the previous ones.
No, of course not.
Like, you might want to pick up, Spider-Verse because it's a classic story and it's got a ton of characters and it's really well done. But you don't need to read the whole Dan Slott run.
Apparently I'm drawing the cover to the next volume.
Yes, I believe you are, yes. One of the variants, I think.
No, in reality... that dude's name is Patrick Brown.
Yes.
And
somebody just, when they were going through Diamond's database and flagging, it was supposed to be flagged a little too low or too high.
Yeah, I guess. In the ads for the upcoming Spider-Verse series, just called Spider-Verse, not confusing at all, where there's a Spider-Man...
Coming out of a book just called Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Again, not confusing at all.
There's a Spider-Man dinosaur fighting an, I don't know, Venom dinosaur or whatever.
Sure.
On the cover, and the credit is, it said that is drawn by Patrick Brower.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I thought, someone else has my name in the industry? But no, it's Patrick Brown.
Yes.
Because there's not enough Browns in the industry.
No. It's nice that the two Ryan Browns are going to two separate conventions this weekend.
That's true. Yeah.
So maybe that's a deal they made.
Did you know that Zachary Levi is going to both?
I did. I mentioned that to you.
Yeah.
He's Friday at C2E2, but Saturday, Sunday at Orlando MegaCon.
So then you did know.
Yes, I think I absolutely told you that.
Going back to Extermination,
Yes.
like that storyline would have stuck out to you if it was just part of the ongoing Uncanny X-Men run, and you would have remembered it more because it was just a sequential part of the story, not a separate...
I mean, I don't know, because some of it is just, it was one of the last, like, it was that, and then, I'm trying to think of if that was right before the Uncanny X-Men disassembled stuff, with their three or four writer team, Kelly Thompson, and Matt Rosenberg, and two other folks. Ed Brisson, I think.
Brisson.
And then that ran for like 3 months, and then they did...
Wasn't it just those three?
Maybe. I can't remember who it was. But then Rosenberg did like another short run, and then I think right after that was Hickman's X-Men.
Right, yeah.
So like Extermination was just the kind of... We got to put the genie back in the bottle because we got to get back to a status quo because we don't 100%... We, the creators of these books, do not know what Jonathan Hickman is doing yet. So we have to put everything back where we found it just in case he needs different things to happen. And yeah, I mean, when House of X kicks off, I mean, it's... They are not beholden to any main storyline from the last 40 years.
But they then make every single story relevant.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that about it.
But I mean, House of X is kind of like the biggest example I can think of how the excitement of a brand new start and the disconnection and the jumping on point and how great that is and how many books that sold also kind of kills your backlist.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, what is... Again, if you're someone who came in through House of X, what's the incentive to go read the previous stories or whatever? Like, you may, again, pick out some classics, your Dark Phoenix saga. Maybe you heard really good things about Kieran Gillen's Uncanny X-Men because he's writing Immortal X-Men now. But, yeah, the idea of, I need to read all this stuff, or there's value in reading these old stories. I mean, they might be entertaining, but there's no story value. It's not filling in any blanks for you.
And also, just from that point, which now is, how many years ago? 4 years ago?
House of X?
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Since then, how many different X-Men #1s have there been?
A billion.
And I don't even mean like all the offshoots and whatnot.
2019.
Okay. So 4 years.
4 years.
Just the regular X-Men comic. X-Men, how many times has it restarted in that time?
A lot.
Even though it's present and current continuity, and it just flows naturally from one series to the next. But
I mean, it does and it doesn't. That's the weird thing. Like, the Hickman X-Men book was very much like the world of the X-Men.
Yeah.
Each individual issue could be a completely different facet of the story he was telling. And then when Dugan took it over, it was Team X-Men book. They live in New York. They fight crime. Save the world. That's the book. And now he's on, I think, the second version of that. So this is the third titled X-Men book since House of X kicked off.
Yeah. And it just gets confusing.
It really does. It's one of the things that I don't know if we want to change gears here, but here's a natural segue. It's one of the things I really hope changes with Marvel now being under a different part of the Disney umbrella.
I'm going to title this section, We Don't Like Ike.
We don't like Ike. Very fun to see so many people pissing all over that dude, who it seemed like everyone in the industry was just hoping would go away and never ever did. The funniest thing about how he was let go, and this is, I can't remember if it was The Beat who had this, but it was... do
you want to back up and just give a blanket sentence?
Ike Perlmutter, who was the owner, he was the owner of Toy Biz, and Toy Biz bought Marvel in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. Took them out of bankruptcy and essentially built Marvel into the company that was then releasing Iron Man in 2008. And then...
The movie.
Yeah, Iron Man the movie. Starting the MCU, basically. And then Marvel was sold to Disney, and Perlmutter became a huge shareholder in Disney and had been overseeing the Marvel Entertainment portion of the Marvel portfolio for the last few years. He was overseeing everything, including Marvel Studios, until a huge fight with Kevin Feige.
Whom he wanted to fire
because they had different opinions on how much money should be spent on a movie, a lot or zero. Marvel Studios became a part of Walt Disney Studios, so Kevin Feige reported to different people. Perlmutter stayed in charge of Marvel Entertainment, which was Marvel, at the time, Marvel TV, publishing, video games, consumer goods maybe, live events. So specifically Marvel Publishing was still under Ike. Recently, Disney has been doing a lot of cost-cutting and a lot of layoffs, and they're also using the layoffs as sort of cover to sort of get rid of people from previous administrations that they didn't agree with anymore. And Ike specifically recently had been starting a proxy battle for control of the board of directors for Disney to enforce his sense of cost-cutting and his own vendettas against...
anyone.
Well, specifically CEO Bob Iger, I think. But anyway, he was forced out. And the funny thing about how he was forced out was usually when a guy at that level, who has been a major part of the company for decades and owns a ton of stock, is given a little bit more like narrative cover, you know? Oh, he's decided to step down, or he's decided to... everything
Spend
here...
more time with family.
The story here was fired, laid off.
Kicked
you don't
out.
lay off a guy at that level unless you want the world to know he lost. You know, we are embarrassing him publicly. But Ike, as the head of Marvel Entertainment, was responsible for some interesting things and definitely had helped save the company at a time where it was incredibly vulnerable to just going away forever. But he kind of never shifted gears into, like, success mode. So everything was, like, they were still being run like they were in bankruptcy, where costs were kept very, very tight. And if you go to The Beat, Heidi has a bunch of fun little anecdotes that she had heard over the years from people who worked at Marvel about, like, Ike would, like, pull paper clips out of the garbage and reuse them.
Wow.
Or the staff could only make one pot of coffee a day. Or when they revamped they were doing some changes to their offices, there were, like, literally 2 bathrooms, a men's and a women's, for the entire floor.
Everybody got one tea bag at the start of the month.
I mean, stuff like that, basically, where it was very
miserly.
Miserly is a good way of putting it. So Ike's gone now, and part of that, though, is, and the rumor is, they couldn't really let Ike go because, again, Ike was a very high up executive. Ike had a lot of stock. You couldn't just say, like, get out, you're fired. But the thing was, Ike was in charge of Marvel Entertainment. If Marvel Entertainment didn't exist anymore, Ike's in charge of nothing and he's laid off. So part of what ended up happening was that Marvel Entertainment now kind of doesn't exist anymore, and the different aspects of that went to different parts of the Walt Disney empire. In the same way that Marvel Studios years ago was moved to Walt Disney Studios to be part of that end of things rather than the Marvel vertical. So the big question that is kind of on everyone's minds in the publishing industry for the last 48 hours is, what does this mean for Marvel's books? We've seen DC get moved around to different divisions as a result of different ownership, and sometimes that means a ton of layoffs and a huge change in the corporate philosophy
shift.
Yeah,
new publishing directives.
So while the aftermath of Ike being laid off is, oh my God, Ike was holding everybody back, there's also a sense of like, okay, but is anyone protecting Marvel publishing? Like, do the people who are in charge understand the value of Marvel as a publisher instead of just like a brand or a logo? And it sounds like tentatively, yes, the people who are overseeing Marvel do understand that, and there will not be like immediate layoffs or whatever because of kind of Disney's cutting costs in other divisions. Cutting costs in Marvel wouldn't net them anything.
No.
Marvel doesn't spend that much.
No, if you look at what the comics spend versus what any other Disney department spends, the comics are nothing.
Yeah, Disney's huge problems, not to get completely off track from comics publishing, but Disney's huge problems are how much money they've spent on streaming and how much kind of redundancy and inefficiency they have in their corporate levels. So a lot of those folks are what's getting laid off. Like, I follow some of the Disney theme park blogs, and a lot of the analysis over there is like people saying like they're not firing to recoup the money they need to cut costs to reduce headcount. They're not going to fire like the guy making the Dole Whip at like Walt Disney World.
Right.
Like that's different than what they're looking at as far as cost saving measures go. So Marvel's you may eventually see a few people at Marvel be transitioned out or have their jobs combined or whatever. That's corporate America right now. It's a lot of companies. But yeah, hopefully in the short term, we're not going to see any changes at Marvel. And over the long term, I would love to see some very positive changes that like usually stood in the way of like keeping a healthy backlist. Marvel's backlist is terrible. If anyone ever reads Brian Hibbs' yearly analysis of the book scan numbers, which is basically like graphic novels, is specifically what he covers, sold through book chains. Marvel graphic novels never sell.
Never sell.
It's ridiculous how little Marvel has an impact in
so
the book
little
market.
do they sell that when they want to reach different audiences, they farm out those books to different publishers.
Yeah, like middle grade stuff comes out from Scholastic. The younger reader Star Wars stuff comes out from Dark Horse now.
Yeah, it used to be IDW for a lot of the younger reader superhero stuff too.
And I mean, speaking of that is sort of, one of the fears that always gets talked about when huge corporate things happen around Marvel or DC is, what if Disney just decides to farm all that stuff out?
Yeah.
You know? It doesn't sound like that's going to happen, but that's always a realistic fear because it could happen at some point. It's most of these companies, like Disney, has at times not made video games. They've just thought, okay, we don't have the expertise to do that. We don't want to spend the money it takes to make a successful video game. Let's just license out our IP, Star Wars or Mickey Mouse or whatever, to video game publishers. They'll make the games. We'll get money either way. We're going to get upfront money, and then we'll get a piece of whatever sells. And our overhead is a very small department of people who then have to say yes or no to different licensing deals. And that theoretically could happen at some point with Marvel. There may be a point where they just look at the figures and go, yes, it's not costing us a lot of money, but it's also not making us a lot of money, so why bother?
And that would be exciting and opening up a whole bunch of new stories and things, but also temporary because those licenses need to be renewed and there'll be bidding wars and other people will take them, and then everything like, oh, remember when they were fully interacting with the Image universe? Well, now they can't anymore. And they can't sell those books. And
it is kind of funny. I mean, there's classic like 80s like Transformers comics where like Spider-Man's in an issue.
Yeah.
Because it was just like they just put Spider-Man in. Their Red Ronin issues where they fight like the Avengers or whatever.
Well, Red Ronin they created, but he was in Godzilla.
True. Okay, yes.
You're thinking Godzilla.
I am thinking Godzilla.
He was Red Ronin was the Marvel created Shogun Warrior.
Oh, okay. Yes. So, I mean, stuff like that does happen. And what the deals seem to be now are, they do work it out. Like, I think that I have a Transformers collection from IDW that collects all the Marvel stuff that I think has Spider-Man in it. I think there's the Spider-Man issue is in there somewhere.
Sure. X-Men versus Micronauts. How many ROM crossed over in a bunch of stuff, you know?
Sure, yeah.
Things they can't reprint.
Yeah, I mean, the Rom specifically, because he was in, like, what did his book run for? Like 80 issues?
Yeah.
He was a big part of the Marvel Universe.
Never forget the point pre-Challengers where
I can't remember that, but okay.
I tried to get the ROM license. It was going to be written by Brandon Jerwa,
Okay.
penciled by Tim Seeley,
Okay.
and I literally went through the steps to get it and was told that no, they're keeping it, and they don't want to do anything to damage their property.
Mm-hmm.
But he was just in, I don't know, was it a South Park episode?
Rom?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Ron was in the background of South Park, because it was way before Rick and Morty, so it couldn't have been
Sure.
that. But, and I even cited that. I'm like, well, what about this? And they came back with, that wasn't authorized.
Thank you. We'll be suing them.
Yeah. And then, of course, because they weren't doing anything with it,
No.
and then they eventually licensed it out.
Yeah. IDW, right?
Yeah. Well, it turns out Chris Ryle was a bigger fan than I was.
True. And also already had a publishing company,
Yeah.
which probably helped.
Yeah. But I had a team.
You did. You were ready to go.
Yeah.
What could have been?
I was also going to ink it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did not see that coming. Yeah, the Marvel thing that was pretty big news this week. There was a thing that dropped today that I thought was fairly interesting. Joe Quesada moved on from Marvel a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Went freelance. He's been doing Batman variant covers.
As well as other publisher variant covers and stuff. Small press stuff, too.
Okay. The only
Yeah.
stuff I remember seeing is the Batman
Yeah.
stuff. He has a new job.
Okay. I'm not aware of this. I was busy today.
Yeah. He got hired by Amazon to basically... what it sounds like he's doing is finding comic IP for them to exploit in TV shows and movies. Either stuff that they have access to or stuff that he's going to go looking for, I guess.
So is there going to be a Painkiller Jane series again? Or
What I was very happy...
was it Ash? Was that
Ash,
his...
yeah.
Okay.
What I was very happy to read was that does not seem to be what they're doing. I mean, no one specifically said we're not doing that, but that was not part of the announcement. His job is more of a... like... essentially the guy who would go to conventions and be like, this is the book we need to pick up.
Oh,
This
okay.
is the
So
deal we need to
not
make.
dig through like public domain licenses, but finding new properties.
Right.
They could, okay. I see.
Yeah, I feel like he's going to be the intermediary that is able to go, don't bother optioning this book. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
They just want a media deal. Option this book because it's legitimately great and this is going to be the next big thing.
Okay. I mean,
Which sounds like a fun gig.
it
I
does,
don't know, man.
and it sounds like
he was an editor.
Ultimately, he's helping creators.
Yeah, it's a portion of his skill set that I think comes from the editor-in-chief stuff, and I think that's fun. Like, I think that's a cool gig.
It's just when you immediately say Amazon, I'm like,
I know. They do The Boys. They do Invincible.
Yeah, no, that's true. That is true. I was thinking the other day how, and this is really a complete non sequitur, how Derek Robertson had two major co-creator owned runs on just the most irreverent properties.
Boys and what was the other one?
Transmit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boys is kind of tricky because he wasn't even on that book that long.
No, but he was on it to start.
He was the Tony Moore of that book. He was the Corey Walker.
Corey Walker, yeah. They're not Ryan Otley.
The Corey Walker thing is interesting to me because because of the animated series, he is so front and center on all the Invincible branding now.
Yeah.
Like they're doing the new 6x9 smaller trim size graphic novel collections.
Why are you
I don't
doing
get it.
Invincible in the YA digest format?
I mean, I don't think it's a book for that market at all.
No.
But I feel like someone at some book chain was like, this is the size it needs to be for us to stock it. And they went, all right, sure. Kirkman's a guy that will never seemingly say no to any format for his books.
And will never seemingly let a property end.
No.
I mean, he does.
I mean, he ended a few series.
Yeah, I know.
But
Was it Outcast? Was the
Outcast.
Yeah.
But just the idea that Corey Walker, who I loved on the initial run of the book. And I remember, this is going to sound apocryphal, but I swear to God it's true. I talked to Kirkman at Wizard World Chicago.
Yeah.
In the first year that Invincible was out. And I want to say the two things I remember were, one, him asking us to please go buy copies of a book from a friend of his, because that friend was not doing a lot of sales at the show, and like, could we I was working for Graham Crackers at the time, could Graham Crackers please pick up a bunch of copies? And I don't want to name the creator of the book, but it's a creator that is a huge name now with a lot of very successful books to their name.
Yeah.
But this was at a time where it's
because you bought those books.
Hey, can you help my buddy out? And
yeah.
it was like, sure. And but the other thing was, he was wondering, like, Cory Walker was running late, and he's like, look, do I get another artist, or do I wait until Cory Walker can get the book done? Like, do I release it less often and keep Cory Walker, or do I get another artist and release it monthly? And I was like, do not let go of Cory Walker. He's so good. He went the other way, and that book ran for another, like, 10, 15 years.
Sure.
So, you know, decisions were made. But I always liked Cory Walker, and I'm glad that his designs are a huge part of the show, and I like that he's doing a lot more artwork for Invincible, the brand, as part of his gig now. I like Ryan Ottley. I read that book until the very final issue, every single one. But Cory Walker, I definitely like his art
Sure.
more.
I also have a separate relationship with Robert Kirkman.
Mm-hmm.
Had
past
because he has no idea who either of us are anymore.
Oh, God, no. Yeah. I mean, he never knew who I was.
But he had invited me to come out to his house in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And basically his basement was his warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if you ever want to come out for a weekend, you can go shopping in the basement. You can restock the stores. You know, like, I wasn't going to stay at his house, but I would go to Kentucky. I would stay in Kentucky. We would have a meal. I would shop in his house.
Right.
And I do have that. And I hate that this sounds like it's braggadocious, but, you know, I've got other friends in the industry who are like, yeah, come to my town. You can stay with me. We'll hit all the barbecue places. Mm-hmm. Like, just things like that. Because they're
Why have you not
friends.
done that? That barbecue thing sounds really good.
Because I don't ever take trips.
You should take a trip and get some barbecue.
You know what I should do? I should plan at least 2 trips for this year. I should plan trips to Pittsburgh and New Jersey, New York, and then see what happens.
Yes.
Yeah. Remember what happened the last time I tried to throw a personal birthday party?
I do.
So, I listened to the signs, man. I'm not saying I won't.
Sure.
Chris Smits really wants me to do the barbecue one. He wants to come along.
Sure.
But also, whenever somebody says, and this is something that's wrong in my brain. Mm-hmm. Whenever somebody says, "Hey, come to town, you can stay with me," I will never do it. I may go to the town. I'd feel like an imposition.
Yeah.
But that being said, I say it to people all the time, and I let people stay with me.
I don't want to make this an episode where we psychoanalyze you. Do you feel it's because you don't value your own company that much? Like,
no, I'm awesome.
Then why do you think that people wouldn't feel like it would be a benefit to have you around?
Because I don't want to get in their way, because these are all creatives and professionals, and I don't want them responsible for me the entire time.
Creative professionals are always looking for an excuse not to be doing work. Yeah. Jesus. You'd be doing them a favor. It's you or Instagram.
A specific friend on the West Coast, I wouldn't want to be in their hair, but also wouldn't want to have to entertain myself in their town.
Yeah, I mean, that's the tough part. Is like you definitely feel like you want to do half and half. You like, if you head out to the coast, see the sights, you want to split it where it's like, okay, we'll meet up for breakfast, and then I'm going to spend the day doing something else.
Right.
And then maybe we meet up for dinner, or maybe we don't, or whatever.
But also, I don't plan. I just wander.
You do, and you have fun adventures. I mean, you seemingly have fun stories when you're at conferences or something, where it's just like, Pittsburgh didn't work out, but you were already like, oh, look at these couple fun things that I was going to do.
Those I did have plans for, and what happened now?
I like that you're saying you never make plans, but then when you make plans, things go wrong, and it's like, but You never make plans. What's happening?
Well, when you and I were in London,
yes.
and when I was with Mike Lee in Tokyo, like what we did for both of those things was one day planned touristy thing, and the next day just go off in a direction.
Yeah, find a district or a neighborhood and just like, let's see what's there.
The next day, go back to do a touristy thing.
Right.
The next day, I don't know, what's in that park?
Sure.
But anyway, we're going to stop talking about that. But while we're talking about me, I thought it only fitting that after 15 years in Challengers that I have a new bio. Now, I have a new bio, and unfortunately now I didn't make a bio for you.
That's fine.
But that's because I feel like you just got that RJ City name treatment.
It did.
Which people have been getting, unfortunately not patrons.
No.
But the the full released episodes, people are getting snippets of...
Little drop-ins from RJ City.
Yeah, as they will have with this one as well.
Having fun with my name.
So here is my... I have two bios. So here's the first one. Please hold your laughter. Patrick Brower is a respected figure in the comic book industry, known for his passion for comics and his dedication to promoting independent comic books. He is the co-owner of Challengers Comics and Conversation, a comic book store located in Chicago, Illinois. Brower's love for comics began at a young age, and he grew up reading the classic Marvel and DC titles. However, he soon discovered the world of independent comics and was immediately drawn to the unique and diverse stories being told by these creators. After working in the comic book industry for several years, Brower decided to open his own comic book store with his partner, W. Dal Bush. I put business partner there just to be specific.
I did not allow my name to be used in this bio.
Chris Burnham. In 2008, Challengers Comics and Conversation was born, and it quickly became a hub for comic book fans in Chicago. At Challengers, Brower and Bush have worked hard to create a welcoming and inclusive environment for all types of comic book fans. They've also made a point to focus on independent comics, offering a wide range of titles from small publishers and self-publishing creators. Brower has been a vocal advocate for independent comics, and he has used Challengers as a platform to promote and support these creators. He has organized events and signings with independent comic book creators, and he has even created his own independent comic book, Metaphase, which he co-wrote with his son. In addition to his work at Challengers, Brower has also served as a board member for the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, a nonprofit organization dedicated to protecting the First Amendment rights of comic book creators and readers. Overall, Patrick Brower's dedication to comics and his commitment to promoting independent creators have made him a respected figure in the industry. His work at Challengers Comics and Conversation has helped to create a thriving comic book community in Chicago, and his advocacy for independent comics has helped to bring attention to some of the most exciting and innovative voices in the medium.
A lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Definitely a few Easter eggs in there for longtime listeners who are maybe less familiar with your board membership on the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund.
CBLDF, correct.
And Metaphase that you did with your son?
With my son, yep. So I felt like this bio had a couple of questionable things. Like, it focused on independent comics as a whole.
Yeah, and it definitely talks about how respected you are, which is a thing where it's like,
See, literally when I'm like, don't laugh.
Give or take.
Yeah. So I took another stab at it, okay?
Right.
So I have another bio.
Yep.
Patrick Brower is a prominent figure in the comic book industry, known for his work as co-owner of Challengers Comics, a Chicago-based comic book store that he co-founded in 2008. Born in 1973 in the city of Chicago, Patrick grew up with a passion for comics and comic book culture, which led him to pursue a career in the industry. Patrick's interest in comics began at a young age, and he spent countless hours reading and collecting comic books. After graduating from high school, he attended the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, where he studied English and communications. While in college, Patrick continued to indulge in his love for comics, regularly attending comic book conventions and immersing himself in the industry. After completing his degree, Patrick worked various jobs, including a stint as a substitute teacher. However, his passion for comics never waned, and in 2008, he decided to follow his dream of opening a comic book store. Together with his friend and fellow comic book enthusiast, W. Dal Bush, Patrick co-founded Challengers Comics in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. Challengers Comics quickly became a beloved fixture of the Chicago comic book community, known for its welcoming atmosphere, knowledgeable staff, and commitment to promoting diversity and inclusivity in the industry. Under Patrick's leadership, the store became a hub for comic book enthusiasts of all ages and backgrounds, hosting events and workshops that celebrated the art and culture of comics. In addition to his work with Challengers Comics, Patrick has also been involved in various other aspects of the comic book industry. He has served on the advisory board for the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo, C2E2, and has been a guest speaker at several comic book conventions across the country. He is also a regular contributor to the comic book podcast, Contest of Challengers. Patrick's passion for comics and commitment to promoting diversity and inclusivity in the industry have earned him widespread recognition and respect among his peers. He continues to be an influential figure in the comic book community and a tireless advocate for the art and culture of comics.
Weird that you didn't mention your son in that one. That feels like a slap in the face.
Or Metaphase.
Metaphase, I mean, I read Metaphase. I don't know why you didn't mention it. But your son? Jesus, Patrick. You wrote that book with him.
So, if you haven't guessed it, both of those bios were AI generated.
Yep.
And I thought it would be fun. Obviously, I'm never going to do any AI generated art. But having it take a stab at writing my bio...
I'm curious what prompt you used. Like, how did you...
create a bio for Patrick Brower of Chicago.
So you didn't tell it to make sure that you were respected?
Nope. Nope. I didn't mention Challengers. I didn't mention Contest of Challengers.
Of which you're a regular contributor to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am. I regularly contribute.
You do. I would say almost every episode you contribute.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, except for the beginning when we traded back and forth.
Mm.
You know, those first 15 episodes.
I do.
So those are completely computer generated, AI made biographies, and full of erroneous information.
Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, I mean, even getting away from like the stuff that is subjective, there's flat out factual errors in there.
Yeah,
and I'm curious where it got some of that stuff. Like, it might be confusing you with a different Patrick Brower somewhere.
So in that regard, I did try to have it write a bio for Haley, and it because you think there are a lot of Patrick Browers out in the world, so it might have confused me with one or two of them.
But it got so much of
right for Haley's. It got everything, every single piece wrong. It wasn't even close.
Wow.
And then I narrowed it. I'm like, all right, how about for book marketing person?
Right. You tried to drill down a little bit and
into
say this person.
Yeah, because the first one is all about Haley being a professional dancer.
Okay.
So I tried to give it more information.
Purely an amateur.
And it just stuck with the dancing motif.
Weird.
Yeah.
I wonder... I would have assumed that Haley's would be a lot more factually correct off the bat because she's younger.
All that information is newer.
Well, I was going to say because she's younger and more of her life has been lived in an online capacity where there's more of a breadcrumb trail for her than there would be for you or for me.
Well, one of the reasons I didn't do you is because of the 3 syllables, 1 initial.
I know. It's bad. It's bad.
There's no... Oh, it's a terrible name, Dal. There's no... Like, we call you W. Dal Bush.
Right.
But you've gone by Dal Bush for forever.
Yeah.
But in what capacity are you online? You're not.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'm not on social media at all, and I never have been. So I'm not even sure what, like, publicly available information it could scrape to generate a bio.
So here is a facet. Like, there is my comic book retail history. There's 17 and a half years before Challengers that never came up in either of these bios.
Not what we're talking about.
Sure. But you know why? You know why it didn't?
No.
Because that guy was Pat Brower.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't switch to Patrick until the end of my tenure there.
That's true.
And so when it looks for Patrick, it misses all of that.
I wonder, I mean, I don't plan on interacting with the robo-writer. I wonder if you put in, like, variations of your name, if it would understand, like, oh, this is all one person who goes by 3 different names. So when we're looking for information on the internet, like, these are the names we want to look for. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that's helpful or unhelpful.
And since I did say of Chicago, like, it didn't mention anything from New Jersey because...
No, including that you were born in Chicago, which
Yeah.
is incorrect.
And in the wrong year.
Yes.
And have a son.
And have a son. Who you declined to mention in your second bio. Did you have a falling out between the first and second bios?
Yeah, he stole Metaface from me.
Wow. At least you still have challengers.
Right, which is why I will never sell Metaphase and Challengers.
And your advisory seat. C2E2.
And my board seat at the CBLDF. I mean, it's close. I was a board member
You
for
were.
Comics Pro.
Yeah.
And they're not wrong. I have advised C2E2 in the past, but not in any type of official capacity.
No.
When they're like, give us a list of creators you think we should have the show, that's not an official capacity.
Yeah. We've had dinner with some of the people who run C2E2. But it's just been dinner. It hasn't been like a contracted role with the company. Lance Fensterman, Patrick, he's leaving Reed Pop.
Is he?
17 years, he's done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is he going to work for Lego?
He has another gig, but he hasn't mentioned yet. He did say it's not in the same space of Reed Pop.
He's a big Lego fan.
He will not be competing with Reed Pop in any capacity, it sounds like. Reed Pop also announced the dates for C2E2 2024, next year's show.
The last weekend of April.
The weekend right before Free Comic Book Day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which, it's landed there before. The range for C2E2 over the years, not counting pandemic years where they had to worry about people dying of a plague, like end of February to end of April. I think it's kind of the range they've been in.
Yeah.
Never earlier than the end of February, never later, I don't think, again, not counting pandemic years, then right before...
and I want to say end of February only once.
Yeah, I remember that one because it was unbelievably brutal.
Yeah.
That was one of the years we went out with everybody for pizza afterwards. And it was just like, this sucks. It sucks being outside talking to people because it's like snow on the ground and it's ankle high and it's freezing and windy and you just don't want to exist. Even this weekend is not great. It's a little warmer, but it's just only slightly above freezing.
It's supposed to be violent thunderstorms during the anniversary party.
Yeah. Friday's a weird one because it's like low of 50, high of like 64, which is pretty great.
Yeah.
But also windy and overcast and rainy and like thunderstorms.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't love it.
Super fun.
Yeah.
So the anniversary party is tomorrow. It will already have happened by the time this goes up, even for patrons.
I hope everyone was able to make it and have a good time.
And I don't know what people always say, like, well, who's going? I don't know. We don't expect RSVPs. It's open to the public.
Right.
Can I bring this person? Yes, it's open to the public. Mm-hmm. How long is it going to go? I don't know.
Yeah, we've already had some folks who are like, the show ends at 7. People are going to want to get dinner, so they're probably not going to come to the party. So are you going to stay late? And it's like, I don't want to be at the store past midnight.
Yeah, especially if you have been at C2E2 all day yourself.
Right. I mean, that's an early start for me, and I don't want to get home at 3 a.m, but I don't know. Maybe. We'll see.
The timing for this whole week for me, this whole month has just been bad.
Bad timing, yeah.
And not only did I have to miss those 2 trips, I missed multiple concerts, and I kept getting asked to more as the month went on.
Yeah.
Including both JVO and Stephanie Phillips asked me to see 2 different shows on the same night. And just like, I can't.
Wilco, and what was the other one?
No. Bruges with James.
Uh-huh.
Just at the Empty Bottle, which, I mean,
Yeah, that's
down the block.
Down the block from the store, yeah.
And Lincoln Hall with Stephanie for the other band, who I forgot.
Was it the band also called Lincoln Hall? That'd be easier to remember.
That would be, yeah. But it wasn't, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed Burr, and I missed Brooke Alex.
I wonder if a band has ever played at a venue with their name that was not named after them. I wonder.
Huh. Yeah, I saw Shuba's at Shuba's.
Like, with how many terrible band names there are in the world, there must be an overlap. It must have happened at some point.
I'm sure. That could be on someone else's podcast.
Yeah.
And all the stuff, like I had to miss Sarah Milliken last night, who I desperately wanted to see it last November, but she got COVID and had to postpone. So she postponed to when neither Lizzie nor I could do it.
But at the same week, you got Jimmy Carr tickets.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't get excited with tickets anymore now because anything can happen.
No, it's true. But I think it's a good thing.
I know. I've got...
That was a bucket list guy for you.
No, it was. And the last time he was in Chicago, I found out the day after, and I was furious.
Sure.
At him because I'm on his mailing list, and it didn't help. And even this I had to find out via Instagram.
I hope you scream out that story while he's trying to tell a joke.
Oh, I will absolutely never say anything to Jimmy Carr other than, "It's a pleasure to meet you, sir." Because he will go after you, and it'll be brutal, but real funny.
For you or for other people?
Me too. I mean, I
Okay.
could get it. Like, he is maybe the most offensive comedian, but because A, there's never malice in it, and B, he offends everyone,
Okay.
it's kind of okay.
Okay.
Like, he's not a racist, he's not a bigot, he's not a misogynist, but he does jokes about all those things.
Sure.
He even, on his most recent Netflix special, he's like, let me see if I can get canceled. And he told the most offensive joke he could think of. And I have since told that joke to several people who did not find it funny. And it is so offensive that I will not repeat it on this podcast.
Thank you. Please don't tell about the anniversary party.
Definitely. I mean, I may.
How many specials does Jimmy Carr have on Netflix that people can watch?
I don't know.
At least one?
Oh, several. Yeah.
Okay. So if people are curious about why this comedian is one you were unbelievably excited to go see, they can watch one of his specials and figure it out.
Jimmy Carr is just one-liners. So when you see him, and his act is like 2.5 hours, you get like 1,000 jokes.
Yeah, my only familiarity with him is like the host of
The
panel
panel
shows and
shows,
stuff. So I can't even imagine what his stand-up would be like, what that would entail.
I almost could give you Jimmy Carr line, but I can't.
Okay.
Yeah, they're very funny. But like literally, he doesn't tell stories.
Mm-hmm.
He just one-liner. That's it.
Okay.
And he's so good at riffing with the crowd. He's so fast.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of his show is just, hey, what do you do?
Well, he's a presenter, so like that should be one of his skills. I'd hope it would be.
Anyway, big Jimmy Carr fan.
Excellent.
Looking forward to that. Even if he does look astonishing like John Robinson since he got his hair transplant. Yeah. But also, my next shows are Louis Capaldi, Esh Nico.
Yeah.
No metal shows currently. Oh, the Eels.
I was going to say the Eels.
Yeah. But anyway, that's... So look, at the point we record next week's episode, I should be a vastly different person.
You'll be back to your usual self, which is, we'll be recording this on a Friday, so angry.
Maybe a Thursday.
Tired.
Don't know. But I mean, I'm looking at...
You've had a very rough first quarter of 2023.
I'm looking at at Wednesday, which, pure coincidence, Haley's birthday, so happy birthday, Haley.
Happy birthday, Haley.
As my New Year's Day.
Yeah, your belated New Year's Day.
Because my 2023 hasn't started yet. And I know this is the trademark Challenger's crypticism, but I don't think I'm ever going to elaborate on what I'm talking about.
No, not worth talking about.
And it's also,
especially
not
because
a great subject.
it's hopefully over soon. So let's let it be over and move on.
So, looking forward to that. But yeah, literally, there's not been a podcast this year where I've been at 100%.
I hope people appreciate that they still got some very entertaining episodes.
Only one of them was cut dramatically short. Well, I mean, it was like less
20-something minutes?
It was like 36 minutes maybe.
Okay.
And you personally know what happened later that night.
I do. It's true.
Yeah. Or I guess early the next morning.
Yes.
I'll stop elaborating on that. I'm sorry.
Trademark Challenger's crypticism.
There we go.
Systematic cheating.
Because of
that's somebody else.
Book release dates changing, or creators forgetting, we lost 2 big signings this year. Lost, i.e., oh no, we'll have those people back, but not necessarily like...
Not for that project.
Yeah, we lost Dan Johnson for Do a Power Bomb because he had to go out to the West Coast to do stuff for his art dealer. And because 8 Billion Genies kept getting pushed around, the release date for the hardcover we still hope to do something
Yeah,
for that, but it won't be the release day.
No, it'll be postponed, but the hope is just a few weeks rather than like months or whatever.
Right, but a few weeks later is different, and also
like if we do something with Dan, it's like end of the year,
and it's for his next
for
project.
a different book entirely.
Yeah. He hasn't even been in since Powerbomb came out, so we can't. Actually, we barely have any left.
We've had to restock a bunch of times.
Yeah, and we ordered a ton for the signing.
I mean, beyond the book club, which is coming up third Monday in April. I think that's right.
Yeah,
we just sold a lot of copies because
Yeah.
it's the new Daniel Warren Johnson book, and it's very good, and we love it. It's sold great for us. The signing would have been moving them faster, but we still sold them all. And
that's
then
true.
some.
And for 8 Billion Genies, we will have a Challengers exclusive dust jacket cover for
I'll need you after
some
this
of them.
to tell me what
Quantity?
what cover it was, because we had.
It was the very first one.
Oh, okay, cool.
The superhero one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And who does image FOCs?
MJ.
Okay, we need to make sure that she knows how many we have to order for that book.
I was wondering if that was a thing where we had to order them on FOC, or if we could
By
essentially
FOC.
parcel it
yeah,
out. If we could just like order the dust jackets and then order
I
different
see
quantities of
what
the
you're
books
saying.
over
It's
time.
got to be FOC.
That's fine. Okay. We can.
But I mean, we were going to order that.
Mention it to her tomorrow at the party.
We were going to do that anyway when we thought you had the signing.
Right, but without the signing, I was more inclined to say, like, let's do half of that, and then we'll do the additional parts of it when we're doing the signing.
But the dust jacket is like when we have a creator come in and sign a book, that's an added bonus. You get a signature.
Right.
The dust jacket is like an exclusive cover. It's going to cost money.
Yes, there will be an additional fee for it.
Yeah, so
It'll be on the book, and the cost will be for the package.
So since we're not doing dust jacket, non-dust jacket versions, we can just use the same barcode, right?
Yep.
Actually, maybe the dust jacket has a different barcode.
We'll find out.
It'll definitely have a barcode and our logo on the back.
Yay!
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
that's how it's a Challenger exclusive cover.
nice.
Yeah, not a never before seen cover, but an exclusive for the hardcover.
Yeah, the dust jacket for the hardcover is exclusive to our store, but it is a previous piece of art.
Previous printing cover of a
Yes.
book, which I don't even recall seeing before.
He did a lot of covers, man.
Did a lot of covers for. And hey, while we're talking about people that we like, there's a particular creator that we've been pushing their work a lot recently, and it's we'll just say right now that for Free Comic Book Day, which is Saturday, May 6th,
A month away.
our very special guest for Free Comic Book Day will be Absolute Kyle Starks.
Absolute Kyle Starks. Russell Boy, Absolute Kyle Starks.
Kyle Starks will be at Challengers, tomorrow night for the party. At C2E2 all weekend. And also at Challengers for Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah. Kyle's great. If you've never had a chance to meet him in person, he is absolutely as entertaining and funny as his books are. You will not be disappointed meeting Absolute Kyle Starks in person.
Yeah.
And he's a fun artist, so you can get some fun sketches maybe, or you can get your book signed. He's got Where Monsters Lie. He's got I Hate This Place. He's got Sex Castle. He's got Six Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton. He's got Old Head. He's got
Big Head was from.
Yeah, he's got
Old Head.
Rock Candy Mountain. He's got tons
Assassination.
of books. Yeah, a ton of books. We've got pretty much all of them in stock as long as they're in
Also,
print.
he does fun 24-hour comic day stuff,
Oh yeah,
and he will crowdsource the idea.
nice.
And on his Patreon, he does. If you get the $5 tier, he does a sticker club where you get 2 stickers every month, and he always crowdsources those.
Yeah, it's
and
very,
there's polls and
very
there's
fun pop culture stickers. So he'll do. Patrick has recently gotten Sleepwalker and Darkhawk,
yeah.
but then also
The month before it was
Monk and Psyche.
yeah.
Yeah,
Next month is Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn.
that's
The
great.
month after that, it's Dolly Parton and Willie Nelson.
Perfect.
Previous ones that I got that are on my exercise bike are Bruce Leroy and Sho'nuff from Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon.
Yeah.
Oh, also upcoming, Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, which was one I voted for.
Uh,
So anyway, he has that stuff, but then he'll do these fun books. And one time he was given the topic Karate Prom. So he did a full single issue comic about Karate Prom, and you could buy it on his website.
That's great.
And so I bought all his sketchbooks. I bought all his one-offs that he has done. But things are happening with Karate Prom, which I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything about.
It's too good an idea to
And that is also
leave as a comic book.
one of the main reasons cited for not having our other special guest,
Oh, yeah?
because they're working on it.
Oh, neat. That's very cool. But yeah, we'll have Absolute Kyle Starks at the store for Free Comic Book Day, as well as a ton of free comic books. And we'll see what else happens, what we
We'll
can put
see.
together in the next month.
What else happens? Maybe goldfish crackers. Who knows?
Maybe John Wick merchandise. I don't
It's
know.
possible.
Who knows?
Dal, congratulations on 15 years.
Patrick, right back at you.
Diane, thank you very much for the balloons.
Thanks, Mom.
Even though they set the alarm off in the
we
store in the
left them
middle
on
of
the
the night.
counter, and there were so many balloons, I set the alarm off overnight.
Thank you to my sister Susan for the 2 Cheers to 15 Years rocks glasses, which we will put into use tomorrow night.
I will drink a soda out of them.
Thanks in advance to Sam, not Samantha, but our friend Sam, who's bartending tomorrow. And thanks to everybody who came to the party.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody who has shopped at Challengers over the last 15 years. And
Who continue to shop for the next 15 years.
yeah, let's hope. That would be very much appreciated. And if you could also constantly bring your friends in to buy stuff and have them bring their friends in, I would consider that a pretty sweet gift.
Sure.
For the 15th anniversary.
We did anniversary parties for 1 through 5, and then 10, and now 15. So we're not doing this again until 20.
Yeah. Yeah, I think 20 is the next one.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why we try to make it a bigger deal. Plus, we don't want to throw parties all the time and burn people out. We used to do that.
We did. I mean, that's why we stopped doing it after 5, because it was just like, I think when we hit the 6th anniversary, it's like, what is the 6th anniversary?
Yeah.
Who cares?
15 is Crystal, by the way.
Is it?
And Christian said he was going to buy a Crystal action figure.
Like Chris Starr?
No. Crystal from Inhumans.
Oh, okay. That's fine, too.
And like paint her in a red costume.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But he didn't. But I thought that was hilarious.
That is good.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.